Hello, welcome to Temenos Digital. My name is Aaron, and today we are going to discuss the close of business in T24. By the end of this lesson, you're going to have a good understanding of COB, how it is configured, all the stages involved in COB in T24, and how to run and monitor the progress of COB in T24. Now, what is COB and why do we need COB? COB, or close of business, is an essential part of any bank's daily processing. It should run on every business day. During COB, we have quite a number of important activities which happen. Things like calculation and posting of interest, for instance, they happen during COB. Production of various reports, such as trial balance, are also done during COB. Execution of standing orders, changing the date, the business date, is also done during COB. So if you don't run COB, really the system will not be able to advance to the next date. Now, what are the stages involved in COB in T24? There are 5 stages in COB in T24. The first stage is application. In this stage, the system executes the jobs which are related to the individual applications. Applications like fund transfer, accounts, forex, securities, and so on. Once this stage is completed, the system moves to system-wide. In system-wide, the system will execute all the jobs which are common to T24. Things like calculation and the posting of interest are done in this stage. After that, the system moves to the reporting. Now, as you can guess, in this stage, the system generates different reports like trial balance and any other report which you want, you can add here. Now, once this is done, the system moves to the start of day. In start of day, the first thing which the system does is to change the date, the system date. Then after, it performs other important activities like execution of standing orders and so on. After this stage is completed, the system moves to the final stage, which is online. Now, online stage involves non-critical reporting and any other activity which can be performed after the system has gone online. Things like clearing temporary working files are done during this stage. Now that you have a good understanding on the stages of COBs in T24, let's see how COB is configured. COB, or close of business in T24, runs as a service. So we have quite a number of services in T24, and the service is a process which runs in the background, okay? So if you want to see all the services, or if you want to create a service, to add a service, you use a table called tsa.service. Now let's see COB. COB is a service. So we do COB. As you can see, COB is also a service. We also have a service like TSM. Now, TSM is a special service because it's a service which runs other services. Good. As a part of configuration, remember we said that COB needs to run on every working day or every business day. Now, how do we know which day is a business day? Of course, it's the day when the bank operates. So it is very important that you define all the bank's holiday. So the way you define a holiday, you use a table called holiday. Okay? You do holiday, and the 2 letters of the company code. And these are the same as ISO code of the country. And then you put the year of that holiday. So let's say if you want to define the holidays of Luxembourg in 2021, I do this. And in Luxembourg, weekends, we have weekends, Saturday and Sunday are weekends, meaning banks do not operate on Saturday and Sundays. So these are not working days or business days for the banks. And then you can say, okay, 1st of January is a public holiday. Let's skip this Feb. And let's say the bank day on 2nd is a public holiday, because in Luxembourg there is Easter, and then this is Good Friday, so it's going to be a holiday, as well as Monday, which is 5th, is also a public holiday. Enter. The 1st of May is a public holiday, but this is also going to be the weekend, if I don't mistake, yes. So it's Saturday, it's already non-working day, so there's no need to put 01. In fact, if you do that, the system will prompt us. Let's do that and you are going to see. 23rd is a public holiday in Luxembourg. Okay, I'm not going to define all the public holidays. Let me commit. As expected, it says 1st of May is already a weekend, so there's no need to define this in this table because it's already holiday. So in this case, I remove it, and once I commit, everything is okay. Now, if I visualize this record 2021, apart from these dates which I see here, I can visually see which working days and which are not working days. So the way you read this, you have month 1 is January, Feb, March, and so on up to 12. And here we have day 1 up to day 31. So for instance, this year we had only 28 days in Feb. So meaning the last 3 days are marked as X. Now, whenever we have a weekend or a holiday, we have H. So H means, like here, the first day of January is a public holiday. The second day and the third are weekends. So meaning Saturday and Sunday. These are also weekends. When you move to April, if you look at month 4, we see that the first day is a working day. The second is a public holiday, because we have defined here, second, third, and fourth are weekends. And fifth is a holiday. You see? So meaning in April, we are going to have 4 non-working days. And this is very important because once you reach the 1st of April, we are going to run COB. Once you run COB, the system will already know that the next working day is 6. Okay? So if you don't do that, the system will expect us to run COB on 2nd and on 5th. Now, the other important table which needs to be maintained is a batch. Basically, this is an ad hoc activity. You don't configure batches or holidays every day, okay? But you run COB on every business day. COB runs jobs, and these jobs are in batches. So they are grouped in batches. So you can think of a batch as a process which has jobs which needs to be executed. Let me show you. So for that, we use a table called batch. So if you do batch L, we can view all the batches we have. This first batch is not a COB batch. Why? because it does not have a stage. All batches related to COB should have a stage. We need to define a stage when we want the system to run this batch. At which COB stage? Here S022. What does it mean? The first letter here means system-wide. We have S for system-wide, D for start of day, A for application, and R for reporting. This is 22nd batch in this system-wide, and this is the sequence number. The batch 250 in start of day, okay? And this is batch number 50 in reporting. Now, a batch has jobs. Let's try to review a few of these. Now, let's try to understand. This batch has ID of BNK AAEOD.process, and the stage is S022, which means system-wide, and the number of this batch is 22nd. It's not the first batch in this system-wide. Process status. What does it mean? This defines the status of this batch. The status varies from 0 to 3. 0 being ready, 1 meaning running, 2 meaning completed successfully, and 3 means stopped due to error. A batch is made of different jobs. For instance, here we have how many jobs? 3 jobs. This is job number 1, job number 2, and job number 3. The job number 1 has this name, aa.arr.product.tracker. It runs on daily basis, which means we can also have a job which runs on monthly basis. But this one runs on daily basis. A job also has a status. Again, it starts from 0 to 1, meaning running, then to 2, completed successfully. If there's any error, we can have 3, stopped due to errors. Job number 2 is similar to job number 1, but to look at job number 3, the frequency is ad hoc, which means when you run COB, this will not run. It is there. We can change to monthly, we can change to daily, depending on the purpose. Okay, I changed this for demonstration purpose. If you look at your environment, you're most likely going to have this as daily basis. Okay, but this is to show you that we can have different frequencies in T24 when it comes to jobs, COB jobs. Okay, so basically you can have daily, you can have monthly, and the ad hoc. Ad hoc will not run until it changes to either daily or monthly. Good. So this is the first batch which gets triggered when you run COB. Okay, so it starts with this COB initialize. Then to go, it will continue until it reaches the last one. And the last one is A9999. This is the last one. So as you can see here, in application, we have 254. But the last batch is marked as A9999. Okay? Which means we have slots in between where we can add some other batches. Start of day, as you can see, as I've told you in the theory, the first batch which gets executed when we get to the start of day is change date, and the system changes the date and then after it can perform other activities like standing order, execution, and so on. Okay? Good. So if you have a particular batch which you want to add as a part of your COB process, then you can find a slot. You need to define, first of all, at which stage you want this to run. If it is in an application, then you find the available sequence number. The same if you want your, let's say, report to run in reporting stage or in an online stage, you need to do the same. You define an available slot in the stage where you want this to be run, and you add it. The way you add it, as you have seen, it's very simple. You define the jobs and the frequency. Okay, good. Now, let's see how to run COB. To run COB, one more table. Basically, as I told you, COB is a background process, and all background processes run as a service. So all the services are in a table called tsa.service, and this is where we find the COB. Now, the work profile defines the number of agents which are used to run COB, and where this is defined, where this is defined. Basically, there are two ways to do that. If I try to change this, so if I do TSI COB, remember the lesson navigation, I do 3.1. If I do exclamation and I list, as you can see, how I'm in tsa.workload.profile. Okay, if I list, these are different workloads profiles. These are different profiles, okay, which are defined here in the system. Now we have our two. If you view, we see that two involves 3 agents. Again, I don't know why this is defined as 2 while the number of agents are 3. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is 3. Similarly, you can add your own, you can define your own work profile. Okay, what you need to do, your tsa.workload.profile. Let's create maybe one we call this 4. Okay, 4 agents, and we say we want 4. Okay, once we have this, we can adapt our TSA service with the name of COB, and we can say, instead of running 3 agents, use 4 agents, the one we just defined. Okay, good. So meaning, when you are going to initiate COB, we are going to use 4 agents. Okay, we'll be using 4 agents. Now let's see how to start COB and how to monitor COB. Okay, so before we start COB, we need to make sure that TSM is running. Let's do that. So we check tsa.service TSM. Here it is stopped. It is in stop mode. So what we need to do, we need to start it. Start. And also we need to start our COB, because it's a process. And number 5, we do start. Good. but our COB has not yet started. So in fact, if I do COB.monitor, you see, it is not running yet. It's not running yet. And the COB date is blank because COB is not yet initiated. Now, how do we initiate COB? For that, we need to start TSM. There's a command which is called start.tsm. Okay, so on a J shell you type start.tsm, and this is what you see. Of course, the PID, the process ID, will be different because you are starting this. And if you want to run in debug mode, you do this start.tsm and you add -debug. This is important when, say, you have an error during COB and you want to trace, you want to see what is going on. Basically, you stop TSM, you stop at COB, and you start TSM in debug mode. When you start TSM debug mode, it shows, let's do that. Basically, I think it's going to be easier for you to understand when I show you start.tsm -debug. So as you can see, this will show all the services that we can execute. So here we can, if you want to run COB, we can execute TSA 10, TSA 11, TSA 12, and so on. If you want to execute the service called MTD send mail, we can run this TSA 7, TSA 8, and so on. So it's super important that you look at these numbers to know which service to run. So when you are in debug mode. And here you have the description, by the way, of these services. And it keeps refreshing after a certain period. Good. Now, I don't want to run this in debug mode, but if you ever want to start this in debug mode, what I do, let me open another session. Yes, I have another session. I can do TSA and I pick one. Let's say, let me run this send mail. Let's say I want to send emails. It's TSA 7. You start TSM in debug mode only when you want to debug. So if you have an error or if you suspect that something is going wrong with the COB. But in normal circumstances, you need to start TSM like this. So since I started TSM debug mode, I need to stop it for me to start it in normal way. So I do TS or TSA.service, I TSM, number 5, I do stop. Okay, then I should wait some few seconds or minutes for this to complete whichever process which was running and stop correctly. So let's wait a bit. All right, as you can see, we had agent 9 and agent 1. They were running. Now they are stopped. Just checking if there's any other agent which needs to be stopped. And once this is stopped correctly, we should see the JShell prompt. So let's wait for JShell prompt to come before we start it again. It's taking a bit of time. Okay, as you can see, agent stopped and we have our JShell, okay, prompt. Good. So we know that TSM has stopped correctly. Now what you can do, we can start it again. We put it in start mode. 5. Start. Enter. And after this, let me show you. If you do COB monitor, still COB is not running. As you can see, we don't have COB date, and everything's 0%. Now, to start in a normal way, not in debug mode, we do start.tsm. Just like this. You put enter, and even if you close this session, it's okay. Contrary to the debug mode, if the session is closed, COB will stop. But if I close this session where I started TSM, still the process will continue. And as you can see, our COB has started. We are now, well, we have already processed 3, and you can see the progress. Okay, so far we have processed 26 batches, 34 and so on. You can see the number keeps changing. And this is how you monitor COB. So I'm not going to wait until COB is completed. So you have seen how to start COB and how to monitor COB. You also have a good understanding on all the stages of COB. Okay? Application, system-wide, reporting, start of day, and online. And we have also seen how to configure COB, how to configure holidays, how to configure batches, and how to configure the workload profiles, which meaning the number of agents. So I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you have enjoyed watching this video, please make sure to like it and share the same with your friends. See you next. Bye bye.